Let's turn the whole thing on its head. Imagine a world where most areas that can be served by heat networks, and not everywhere can, let's be absolutely honest, but the areas that can be served by heat networks have been connected to heat networks for decades. Therefore, everybody's familiar with them, they understand how they operate, and it is a familiar scene. They understand and they know that being connected to heat networks for decades, that everybody pays a tariff and a standing charge and gets all the service and the HIU maintenance replacement as standard. No emissions at the delivery point, clean air in the locality, low carbon and affordable. So, here I come into this world. I'm a gas boiler salesman. I'm going to try and convince you, being connected to a heat network for decades, that a gas boiler is the way to go. It's better. Well, let's start with the good news. It's familiar. My gas boiler is going to look exactly like your HIU on the wall. Okay, it's a white box. It takes gas from the road, just like you currently take heat from the road. And you can control that internally with a little timer and controller, just in the way that you operate your heat network. All good news so far. Yes, it does burn heat. It does create heat by burning gas. Yeah, that inside your home. So yeah, okay, it does do that. Yes, the gas boiler isn't as efficient as the heat network. It needs more gas for heat. Yeah, okay, I accept that. I'll give you that. And yeah, okay, it does create local emissions and pollute the local environment a little bit, but it does do that. And yeah, okay, it does. There's carbon going out into the atmosphere from the gas. Of course there is. We're using gas. And what's that? Well, on occasion, it has been known to blow houses up. Very, very rarely, and there are huge safety things to control that, but it has the potential to do that, yes. It never happens, but it could, I suppose. And no, your standing charge. No, it doesn't cover the gas boiler. No, you'd have to take a separate contract out to maintain the efficiency of the system, and also it doesn't get replaced. You would have to replace that gas boiler when it breaks down. But you get the drift. It's a very familiar thing. It's the same as your heat network, really, but you would have to do all those other things as well. And if it does break down, you would probably have to wait for an engineer, unspecified time, etc. But it could be slightly cheaper than a heat network. That's one of the benefits. It could be slightly cheaper. But how am I doing on the gas sale? Am I doing okay or no? No, I didn't think so. What I can do as a gas salesman is say, I can sell you that familiarity. It is the same as a heat network, but to be honest with you, I'm struggling on top of that to get any benefit over what a heat network does from a gas boiler. So in a world of heat networks, how would gas boilers stand a chance? The only other realistic alternative to either of those solutions is heat pumps. So again, let's take ourselves back into that wonderful world of everybody being connected to a heat network. What real benefit would a heat pump bring? Let's think about that. Well, they are very efficient, I suppose, in terms of heat to electricity ratio, more so than gas, certainly. So there's a lot less electricity needed, but electricity is more expensive, of course, right now here in the UK. I would obviously need to live somewhere that has space for the external portion of the heat pump. So that's not always available, but that's another requirement available. And I would potentially have to adapt the internal layouts of my house, either through the pipe work internally or maybe larger radiators, that sort of thing. So it's not quite a simple swap as maybe first thought. And yeah, I will be generating electricity again. Sorry, I'm generating heat via electricity, so that would have more of a pull on an already stretched electricity grid. Whereas, okay, with a heat network, you can be utilising other places of waste heat. I get that, but it is a potential other option. But my point is this, and I think you see where this is going. What benefits does a heat pump have if everybody was connected to a heat pump? Well, very few benefits. To finish off, in a world full of heat networks, would a heat pump salesman or a gas boiler salesman stand much of a chance? Are they better solutions than heat networks? For all the reasons that we've described in earlier videos and also earlier in this video. And the answer really is no. They're not. Heat networks provide all the benefits that gas boilers provide in terms of comfort, familiarity, and all the positives of electric heat pumps can be covered with heat networks. Why would I change from connected to heat network to not connected? It just makes sense. So we need, as an industry, I'm talking to the industry folk on listening and watching this now, what do we need to do then? If we have such a product that can solve a lot of these issues for customers, how do we get that across to customers? And I'm asking the question, how do we get that familiarity? We've got to take out that mystery. We've got to make people aware of what heat networks are and can be. And then we can expand it from there. If everybody was demanding to be connected to a heat network, as I said earlier on, a lot of our problems just disappear. So, and as this, I think, is the best episode yet in terms of getting the message across. Maybe it isn't. Who knows? But there's a lot of people watching these videos who don't like them, or don't press the like button, I should say. Hopefully they'll like them. But let's see. Press the like button, please, because it really does help us here at Ener-Vate HQ. And also subscribe, because the more subscribers we get, more exposure these videos get. And everything that I've said in this video can get to a wider audience, because that's certainly. So you can do your part by pressing like, pressing subscribe, and coming to the next episode. We've only just started to talk about heat networks. Merch.